Cocoon Spawn Girls, Chapter 22. Morning arrived as I rustled under my covers, coming to a yawning awakening. Last night had been really enjoyable, despite all the stuff on my mind. I didn't end up telling Tiki everything yesterday. I didn't want to ruin the special moment. Besides that, I'm also just a coward. I slid out of bed and changed into my outfit for the day. I dug in my vanity drawer and removed a pill from my colored pencil box, ingesting it hunched over like a gremlin. I don't think there's any way MGI could be watching me in my room, but it wasn't something I was going to risk. They can just go ahead and assume every morning I'm nibbling on pencil lead because I'm an odd girl. I walk out of my door, make a quick glance to make sure no notes are on the doors, then head down the hall to the elevator. I arrive last with Clarice and Tiki already seated for the morning meeting. I wave a greeting and they both greet me with a "Morning" and "Good morning, Sophia," respectively. I took a seat between them in the empty chair they had left open. I glanced around for Miss Gretchen, but she didn't seem to be here right now. Maybe she's out smoking in the parking lot. Well, usually she just smokes in here, so surely she wouldn't go to all that effort this time. It's not a big deal. Just gives us all some time to talk before she arrives. Is now the right time to try and talk to Tiki? No, it's too risky with Gretchen potentially around the corner. Plus, there's no telling what sort of monitoring there is in the elevators, hallways, and rooms on the lower non-dorm floors. Gosh, Tiki broke the silence with her explanation. Either of you feel like it's kinda hot in here, or is it just me? Well, summer's coming around the corner. Maybe it's just warmer, Clarice proposed. The room temperature is within 3 degrees of what it's been for the last month, King stated, shaking his head and body. Are you feeling ill? I ask, holding my board up. Tiki's eyes dart down. No, surely not. I'm fine. I just feel a little toasty is all. It was odd to hear a girl who's often on fire being suddenly affected by a slight increase in temperature. If you start to feel worse, let us know. I'll nurse you back to health, I held up with my most serious expression. You're so cute, Sophia. She leapt onto me, wrapping her arm and stump around me, rubbing me with affection. She pulls back after a moment. Oh, I've got an old nurse costume I could make you wear while you take care of me. Oh, I bet you'd be the cutest little thing. Perhaps getting sick is the best fortune I've had in quite some time. She began to laugh. She sounded healthy, so I felt better. Gretchen still hasn't shown up, Clarice pointed out. Huh. Tiki looked over at the door. That's pretty odd. It should be about the time where we began. I scribble on my board. Does she ever forget to let us know about canceling meetings? Clarice and Tiki chuckled slightly. If that woman was planning to cancel, she would have put notes on our doors late last night on her way out to go wherever she goes. Clarice shrugged. I've never seen her forget. Something must be up. We should all go look for her, Tiki decided, standing up and walking out of the room, back towards the elevator. Clarice and I followed her lead, walking to the elevators. We stopped and waited as Tiki reached down and pressed the elevator button, but it did not light up. She looked at it with a puzzled expression, then tried pressing it again. Still, no response. Something seems to be wrong with the elevator, Tiki exclaimed, saying what we were all thinking. Weird. It was working just a minute ago. King rubbed his head in a thoughtful way. Clarice poked her face up against the closed door. She placed her eye on the crack, trying to look between them as she smeared some of her messy eyeliner. Hey, I think I can see the elevator light. It's still there. It just won't open the door, maybe. She spun around and almost in unison, Clarice and Tiki's eyes fell on me. I didn't understand why they were looking at me, as if I could do anything. But then I remembered, I very much could do something. I called forward Fool's Night, his aura surrounding my arms as I placed my fingers as deep as I could into the doors, to get a good grip as I began prying them open. It wasn't the most beautiful opening. I ended up being bent in a circular hole rather than a clean opening. After making a large enough opening, I stepped back, looking down to assess my damage taken. I knew without my gloves I was going to take on more unfelt pain, but what other choice did I have? I was pleased to only see my fingers were red, without any signs of breaks or tears. Still, Tiki removed a small strip of bandage and wrapped both my hands, just in case. It was really kind of her. We all climbed into the elevator. I won't lie and say I didn't begin imagining just how poorly this could go if this malfunctioning elevator began to drop. I cleared my mind of such fears and focused on the now and getting us out of here. Tiki tried the buttons inside the elevator, but once again they did not respond. It's odd that the lights are still on, right? Clarice asked. I mean, it's got power, but it won't move. Could it be some sort of emergency lockdown mode? Tiki suggested. There was a tapping sound that caught my attention away from their conversation. King looked over at the buttons. The fire alarm hasn't been pressed, or we would be hearing an ongoing alarm. Still, it's possible there's some sort of lockdown going on. Tiki sighed in defeat. Maybe the best thing for us right now is to return to the meeting area where the staff are expecting us to be. Then we can await their instructions. The tapping occurred again. This time I could tell it was coming from the ceiling. Was there something outside the elevator? I spotted a panel that opened to the ceiling for emergencies, but I can't reach it with my height. Not explaining what was going on, I climbed out of the elevator, darting back to the meeting room to grab a chair, to bring it back. Tiki and Clarice must have taken this as me giving up as well, because when I returned with a chair, they were now exiting the elevator. Huh? Tiki tilted her head to the side, questioning what I was doing. I raised my chair up and pushed it through my circular opening. It clattered to the ground inside the elevator. As I climbed back into the elevator, Clarice and Tiki watched from outside. I stood on top of the chair and just had enough reach to open the hatch, releasing it, causing it to spring outward. I stood with my face just outside the opening, staring into the dark elevator shaft, waiting for something to happen. I hoped I hadn't taken too long and missed whatever was out there. Then fingertips appeared on the corner of the hatch edge, and those tips pulled forward a hand from the darkness. The other stared in silence as the hand reached over to the elevator cable and grabbed onto it, then began to pull itself upward, bringing behind it a mutated bag of flesh and teeth. We all just watched silently. It was just so shocking. A spawn. It had to be. It was small, and just this arm and its bloody body covered in random placed human teeth. As it pulled itself up the elevator cable, an eye came into view on the very bottom of the body. The eye looked right at me, then motioned upward. I wanted to ask if it was trying to tell me to do something, but I didn't know if writing a message would be worth it if it couldn't read. How did it spawn in here? Tiki was beginning to freak out. She didn't know there were weak spawn hanging around yet, unlike Clarice and I. Clarice held her, keeping her calm and from doing anything rash. We didn't want to make any enemies of Declarna, if this was some sort of message from her. But if she was sending us a message, perhaps our situation is far worse than I thought. They couldn't be abandoning us this early, could they? King suddenly scoffed. Clarice and I looked over at him while Tiki couldn't take her eyes off the spawn as it slowly disappeared into the darkness. I get what she wants us to do. Who? Clarice asked, confused. That basement gremlin. She's telling us if we want to escape this floor, we'll have to use the elevator shaft. Basement gremlin? Tiki murmured, even more confused. We'll get to that later, Tiki. Clarice petted her on the head before turning back to her hand pal. So what? We'll just have to climb the elevator cable like that thing? No way I can do that beyond a few inches. Who said anything about climbing? King leaned in, looking up to her. My dear servant, you serve a king. We have no time to dirty our hands with manual climbing. No, we shall be flying up that shaft. Flying? I held up excitedly. King nodded towards me. By manipulating gravity, we should be able to have it push us upward. We'll also place a gravitational pull above us to pull us. I gave him a blown-away expression. That was so freaking cool. I had no idea they could do that. But, King, Clarice raised a concerned look. We can't put a gravitational pull on the top floor without first touching it. How are we going to be able to pull that off? Elementary, my foolish servant. He chuckled. We don't put the gravitational pull on our goal. We place it on something always going up ahead of us. Sophia! I joined Clarice in giving him a very skeptical glance. He chuckles again at us, like he's making the perfect sense and we're all idiots. Sophia will climb the cable manually, and we'll put a gravitational pull on her, pulling the rest of us along. He nods. Plus, we'll place a reverse gravity on the elevator ceiling, so there'll be a slight push, helping her rise easier. So, this will get weaker with every foot we get away from the elevator. So in the end, I still have to manually climb an entire office-sized building via a rope which everyone else gets to float. Bummer. But what if we fall out from the gravitational pull? What then? We just plummet all the way back down? Clarice chastised. King shook his head in disappointment at his servant's silly doubts. Obviously, we just can't let her climb fast enough to let us fall out of her radius. However, he rubbed his face with his little hand, if she climbs too slow, we'll collide with her and probably really crush her. Great. Good plan, King, Clarice sighed. Clarice accepted that this was going to be the way things were. I, however, was very much freaked out by the thought of having to keep a certain tempo, or else disaster happens. Do you think you can handle that, Sophia? Tiki asked me. She had recovered from her spawn shock. I don't have much of a choice, do I? I have to do this for everyone, or else we're all going to be trapped down here. I'm worried this is part of MGI's plan for us to become spawn while waiting for rescue that never comes. I turn to the others and give them a determined nod. Let's do this thing. I call on Fool's Night, his aura surrounding my body like a ghostly night. I grip tightly onto the elevator cable. It's unfortunately quite greasy, and I just know it's going to get all over my nice skirt. Thinking of my skirt, I remember I'm just wearing a skirt with underwear under them. Ugh. I don't want the others looking at my skirt. What else can they do? I think about letting go of the cable and climbing down to where Tiki is with my bag and board, but I don't want to delay us any further. They've all been in the bath with me. It's fine. It's fine. I grip the cable again, looking down as I give Clarice a nod. She climbs through the elevator ceiling, standing behind me. I climb upward just enough to still be within her reach. Then, once Tiki is climbed up and is in position on the other side of the roof, Clarice taps me on the back and screams, "Climb, climb, climb!" One hand over hand, I immediately feel all the weight on me. Is this what it feels like to be the center of an entire gravitational force? Every time I reach my arm forward to grab above myself, I have to fight to escape my own gravity. The same gravity that's able to lift others. Then I feel a sudden boost. Clarice had tapped the elevator, and now a new gravity is pushing up against me, pushing me away. She must have set it to be much stronger than mine, because for a bit, it feels effortless to climb. But like she said, with every foot we climb, it got weaker, and my gravity becomes tighter around me. We'd climbed probably 2 floors when we heard a crunching sound. I didn't stop, not wanting the others to catch up, but I wondered what was going on down below us. Then there was a loud bang, and the sound of something crashing hard below. A strong force of wind shot up the elevator shaft, giving me the slightest boost, but mostly just shot dust into my gravity, all ending up covering me. "Sophia!" Clarice shouted up at me. "We have a problem!" "That was the elevator!" King jumped in shouting. What were they talking about? All the gravity on it must have weakened the locks, and it dropped to the very bottom of this shaft. We don't have that push anymore. Well, is that going to be a problem? We might begin to slip out from your gravity, Sophia. Or you slow down and we catch up and become much heavier for you. That does sound like a problem. I could feel the blood across my fingers. I was already pushing my body beyond its limits. I didn't know if I could take any more weight. "Cut me loose, guys!" Tiki suddenly spoke. My heart skipped a beat as I suddenly paused my ascent in shock. "Don't even think about it!" Clarice yelled back at her. Tiki sounded calm as she spoke. "If you guys lose me, you can add more weight and still be fine. It'll equal out. We're all gonna make it together. We aren't getting separated. Once you two get back upstairs, you can alert MGI that something is happening. Somehow Spawn have invaded our office and have killed the elevators, and perhaps even done something to Miss Gretchen." Clarice groaned at Tiki being in the dark on everything. "Look, there's more than you know going on, so trust us, we need to stick together." Tiki seemed confused by that. "What?" "Now's really not a good time, but later, I promise. Sophia has been trying to get to it for days, I'm sure." "Great, yeah. Throw me under the bus for being the one to exclude her. Thanks, Clarice." "My lady," a male voice suddenly spoke. I was surprised by it before realizing it was Fool's Night. I asked him what's going on, since we're kind of in a tense situation right now. "I have a solution for you, to be able to take a larger burden." "Well, what is it? What do I need to do?" His ghostly helmet sway around my head. "We currently operate separately for the most part. 2 parts of you. But you can absorb more of me and gain that power." I'm unsure of what he's talking about. "Deep down, there's a part of you that wants to still think about a past and present version of you. If you cease existing as anyone other than Sophia, you can gain so much more of my power." It doesn't really make sense to me. I am Sophia. That is who I am. "But were you always? Part of you refuses to say you were." Well, yeah, obviously. At one point I was a boy who went to school, and I had a family. I try to remember details about my past life, but it's really fuzzy now. This is the work of that medicine, I'm sure. Why hold on to those fuzzy glimpses? Offer them up, and you'll be able to shift the balance between us. Reduce him, and allow Sophia to take over more. And that will help me? That's all it takes to gain that strength? Offer up my past? Boost Sophia's strength by draining his strength. My strength. What else can I do but do as he says? When has Fool's Night ever led me astray? I offer up the memories of school, of what it was like to attend elementary up to high school. Even if it's pretty fuzzy, I'm not ready to part with my family. Even if I can't see their faces anymore. Those years of memories contain lots of info about who I once was. And immediately, I feel more strength inside me and those memories leave me. I slam my fist against the wall, grabbing everyone's below attention, and then leap up the cable, climbing with more vigor than before. They don't know what I've just done, but they stop their arguing about self-sacrifice as they're pulled deeper towards me. As they begin to nearly be able to touch me, I pick up the speed fourfold. Clarice looks concerned the moment I begin speeding up. King looks rather pleased with the unfolding of events, perhaps just happy to enjoy such an odd ride. We reach the dorm floor, and without thinking I punch out the left elevator shaft door for the floor. It flies a few feet before sliding to a stop. The others grab onto the cable as Clarice removes the gravitational effect on me. I leap into the open space, then help pull them out from the elevator one by one. We all immediately lie down on the floor outside the broken elevator shaft, catching our breaths as we finally can relax. I can't believe I just did that. I feel incredible even after just climbing so many stories. But how will I feel once the adrenaline wears off? I fear what might await me. Tell me what's going on, Tiki breaks the peace, asking. I look over to Clarice. She understood it would be quicker if she was the one doing the talking, rather than making me write it all out. And so we filled Tiki in on everything we knew about MGI planning to abandon us, all the way to Declarina and her spawn's existence in the secret basement. End of chapter 22.